Hello, this is Ross Kenyon. I'm the curator of Climate Workers Anonymous. I've been working in climate for about a decade. Seen a lot, been through a lot. You may already know a lot, especially if you've listened to the other show that I make called Reversing Climate Change. A lot of lessons about life and work along the way. Climate Workers Anonymous is a collective art project that features unverified and anonymous submissions. If you work in climate, and maybe even if you don't, and you have something that you'd like to say and don't necessarily want it attributed to you personally, you can submit it. There's a link to the tally survey in the show notes. You can also email me directly at the Proton Mail address you can also find in the show notes. If you look on Substack, there's links to all of these things. You can also easily find them in the podcast notes if that's how you're hearing me. These takes are also unverified. I'm not chasing down leads, trying to make sure that what people submit are true. And in fact, if I do receive submissions that strike me as irresponsible or feeding the rumor mill in a way that could potentially be targeted or abused in some way, I'll either anonymize it such that it doesn't do that by my judgment, or just not publish that one if I think it can't be done ethically. Today I have one that cuts a different kind of direction, which is if the climate space and carbon dioxide removal as a whole are feeling the bumps and bruises of the current moment, there are still companies that are doing okay. And saying that out loud presents its own kind of need for anonymity. It might feel braggadocious. What's the metaphor I'm trying to do? Instead of the ghost at the feast in Macbeth, it's almost like there's a feast for ghosts and then an alive person shows up and makes everyone else feel bad about it. There's a reason why I think Shakespeare did not go for the inversion of that. But it's hard. If things are going well and things are not going well for others, you still might want to say that, celebrate it, maybe just be happy that you're among the elect at this particular moment and to count your blessings. And that carries with it its own freight. I've actually been enjoying doing these episodes that have fewer submissions. I think it's nice to get people in and out quickly without having to do some huge podcasting experience. I often think for content, it's either super short or you want something that's very, very long and involved. Something about those middle ground types of formats that they're just harder to make work. So another shorty for you today. One submission, and here it is. We're actually fine. Times are tough, no doubt, but we keep growing from a large base and have some really exciting milestones ahead of us. In some ways, I wish I saw more fighting spirit from our industry. Some large incumbents aren't getting the funding to take them to the scale they expected, but somehow they've decided to just do nothing instead. Complete silence, at least in public, which also makes the bad buyer and investor sentiment a self-fulfilling prophecy to some extent. Surely it'd be better to at least keep building and learning publicly at a smaller scale like we used to. Meanwhile, we feel vindicated in the strategic choices we made that allow us to keep scaling, but it feels like there's nobody to celebrate with if the whole industry is hurting. End of submission. The corporeal man at the feast for ghosts. Such a tricky line to walk. I'm glad things are going well for you. If you're listening to this and this is also how you feel, you should submit your own submission, because this isn't meant to be only a place where people can say critical things and let it rip in that kind of way. It's really meant for all sorts of different takes and experiences that are difficult to share. I'm always trying to encourage people by saying the naively optimistic. If you have some beautiful thought that is a little bit cringe that you want to share, I really don't like framing it that way, but that's how our culture tends to view those things. Or even just things are going well for you, but you're finding it hard to have fellow feeling with others because maybe it's not going as well for them. Feel free to submit. You can follow this podcast on Substack. You can read the submission for yourself. There's usually commentary with every episode. You'll find links to submit your own experience there, ways of getting in touch. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to this show, either in your podcast app or especially on Substack, where I'm trying to grow this show, it would be so appreciated by me. The link to Substack and those other things are in the show notes right now. Thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to sharing more stories soon.